The alarm was already screaming when I ran into the briefing room. Red lights flashed across the metal walls and 12 alien diplomats stared at me with wide, frightened eyes. I was the only human in the room, and every single one of them was looking at me like I was their last hope. My name is Commander Jack Turner, and 3 minutes earlier I had been drinking coffee in my quarters. Now I was standing in front of a holographic map showing 7 enemy warships moving straight toward Earth. The Zelthari ambassador, a tall creature with 4 silver eyes, was shaking so hard that her long fingers could barely hold her data pad. "Commander Turner, please," she whispered, "you must tell your people to stand down. If they fight back, we cannot protect them." I looked at her for a long moment, then I looked at the map again. 7 warships, Krelvek design, heavy armor, plasma cannons, the kind of ships that had wiped out 3 entire species in the last century. And they were heading for my home. "Ambassador," I said carefully, "why do you think Earth needs your protection?" She blinked all 4 of her eyes at once. It was the alien version of shock. "Commander, the Krelvaks are one of the strongest military powers in the galaxy. Your world has no orbital defense platforms, your ships are smaller, your weapons are older. If you resist them, they will destroy you. Please, we are begging you, tell your leaders to surrender peacefully." I almost laughed. Instead, I pressed the button on my wrist communicator and called the captain of the Earth Defense Fleet. "Captain Hayes, this is Turner. What's our status?" A calm voice came back through the speaker. "We see them, Commander. 7 ships closing fast. Our ships are in position. We're just waiting for the order." The Zelthari ambassador gasped. "Position what?" "Position? You only have 4 ships in that sector." I smiled at her. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a man who knew something his enemies did not. 3 years ago, when humans first joined the Galactic Concord, we were told we were lucky to be invited into a club of 847 peaceful species. Lucky to learn from older, wiser civilizations. Lucky that the great powers of the galaxy had decided not to wipe us out when they found us. We nodded politely. We signed the treaties. We built embassies on their stations. And we never once told them the truth about where we came from. I remember the day I found out. It was my first month as Earth's military liaison to the Concord. An old archivist named Velka pulled me into a dusty back room on Kepler Station. Her webbed hands trembled as she opened a sealed file on her data screen. "Commander," she said in a whisper, "I think you should see this. Most humans never do." The file had Earth's name on it. Below the name was a classification I had never seen before. Class 13, Deathworld, reserved. Designation: do not approach without sanction. Escort. I stared at the words for a long time. "Velka," I said slowly, "I was told the Deathworld scale only goes up to class 12. She nodded her wide, flat head. "That is correct. Class 12 is considered the worst possible environment for life. A place where only the most extreme armor and life support can keep a sentient being alive for more than a few hours." She paused, her large eyes filled with something that looked like pity. "We had to invent Class 13 just for your planet. Your world broke our scale, Commander. We did not know what else to call it." I remember laughing, actually laughing. Earth was home. Earth was sunshine and beaches and forests and cities full of Happy people, Earth had birthday parties, and swimming pools and family picnics. How could Earth be worse than any world in the galaxy? Velka did not laugh with me. She just watched me with those sad, patient eyes. Commander, she said quietly, I hope you never have to show the galaxy why we classified you this way, because the day you do, everything will change. I did not understand her then. I thought she was being dramatic. I thought maybe the Conquered had bad information about Earth. Maybe they had seen our wars and our history, and they were afraid of something they did not truly understand. I went back to my quarters that night and forgot about the whole thing. For 3 years I forgot. But now, standing in that briefing room with alien diplomats trembling around me, I was starting to remember, because the Zelthari ambassador was still talking and her voice was getting higher and faster. Commander Turner, please listen to me. The Krelvak warlord leading this fleet is named Zarthus. He has conquered 8 star systems. His soldiers wear armor that can stop a plasma blast. His ships have weapons that can crack a moon in half. You cannot fight him. You cannot win. Please, I am begging you, save your people. I walked over to the viewing window. Outside, I could see the stars of the sector where my planet floated, small and blue and fragile. Somewhere out there, 7 massive warships were coming to hurt my home, and somewhere on my home, 9 billion humans were going about their day. Some were eating lunch, some were walking their dogs, some were complaining about traffic. None of them knew that aliens were coming to take their world. None of them knew, but I did, and I knew something else. I knew my people. Ambassador, I said without turning around, what do you think will happen when Warlord Zarthus reaches Earth? She made a strange whistling sound. It was the Zelthari version of a sob. He will demand your surrender. If you do not surrender, he will begin orbital bombardment. Your cities will be destroyed. Your leaders will be captured. Your world will become part of the Krelvak hegemony. And there is nothing any of us can do to stop it. I turned around to face her. I was smiling again. Ambassador, I have a different prediction. Would you like to hear it? She nodded slowly, her 4 eyes fixed on my face. In about 6 hours, Warlord Zarthus will arrive at Earth. He will send his demands. Our planet will respond. And then, Ambassador, the galaxy is going to learn something about humans that we have been very polite about hiding for the last 3 years. The Eslek delegate, a huge reptilian creature who had been silent until now, spoke up for the first time. His deep voice rumbled through the room. And what is that, Commander Turner? I looked at him. I looked at Velka, who was sitting in the corner watching me with those knowing eyes. I looked at all the alien faces staring at me, waiting for my answer. You're going to learn why Earth is a Class 13 death world, I said. Not because of the jungles, not because of the oceans, not because of the storms or the predators or the diseases. I paused. But because of what evolved at the top of the food chain. The room went completely silent. The red alarm lights kept flashing. The map kept showing the 7 enemy ships moving closer and closer, and 12 alien diplomats sat frozen in their chairs, trying to understand what I had just told them. Velka was the first to speak. Her voice was barely louder than a breath. Commander, she whispered, I have read your planet's files. I know what lives on Earth. I know about your bears and your sharks and your big cats. But you are saying something else. You are saying that you, the humans, are the dangerous thing. I nodded. Yes. Ambassador, that is exactly what I am. Saying. My wrist communicator buzzed. It was Captain Hayes again. Commander, the Krelvek fleet just dropped out of faster than light travel, there. Broadcasting a message to Earth right now. Warlord Zarthus wants to speak to our leaders. I took a deep breath. Put him through to this room. I want the conquered delegates to hear everything. Captain Hayes paused. Sir, are you sure this is going to get ugly? I looked around at the trembling aliens. Captain, I said softly, it's time. They understood who they invited into their galaxy. Put him through. The main screen flickered, and then I saw him, Warlord Zarthus, 8 ft tall, black chitin armor covering his entire body. 4 arms, each holding a weapon. Mandibles that clicked when he spoke. And 2 cold, hungry eyes that looked straight at me through the screen. He saw me, he saw the conquered delegates behind me, and he laughed. It was a terrible clicking sound that made my skin crawl. A human, he said. They send a human to speak for the conquered. How amusing. He leaned closer to his own camera. Tell me, little creature, do you know why I am here? I felt my hands curl into fists at my sides. Behind me I could hear the Zelthari ambassador whimpering. I could hear Velka breathing quickly, but I kept my voice calm and steady. Warlord Zarthus, I said, I know exactly why you are here, and I think you should know something before you go any further. The insect warlord tilted his massive head. Oh, and what is that, little human? I smiled at him, the same smile I had given the Zelthari ambassador, the smile of a man who knew something his enemy did not. You should know that my people have been waiting for this day for 3 years, I said. And we are so happy that you finally came. The screen went black. The call had ended, but the real conversation was just beginning. 6 hours, that was all the time we had before Warlord Zarthus' fleet arrived at Earth. 6 hours to prepare, 6 hours to warn my people, 6 hours for the galaxy to change forever. I stood in the command center of Kepler Station, watching the red dots on the map get closer and closer to the blue dot that was my home. Behind me, the conquered delegates were arguing in fast, panicked voices. In front of me, my wrist communicator kept buzzing with updates from Earth. And inside my chest, my heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. Commander Turner, the voice belonged to the Eslac delegate. His huge reptilian body was blocking my view of the map. Commander, you must explain yourself. You told Warlord Zarthus that your people were happy he was coming. What does that mean? Are you working with the Krelvax? Have the humans betrayed the conquered? I took a slow breath. I needed to stay calm. Delegate, I have not betrayed anyone. I was warning him. The huge reptile blinked his yellow eyes. Warning him. Warning him of what, Commander? I pointed at the map, at the small blue planet in the center. Warning him about what happens when you attack Earth. The Zelthari ambassador stood up. Her 4 silver eyes were wet with tears. Commander Turner, please, you must understand. We have studied the Krelvax for 200 years. We have seen them conquer world after world. We have seen them burn cities. We have seen them take prisoners. We know what they are capable of, and we are telling you as friends As allies, that Earth cannot stop them. Your planet will fall, your people will be hurt. Please, there is still time. Let us negotiate a peaceful surrender. The conquered can help rebuild Earth. After the Krelvax leave, but only if you do not fight them. I looked at her, I really looked at her. This small, gentle creature who had spent 3 years working with humans, who had shared meals with us, who had laughed at our jokes and cried at our movies, who truly, deeply cared about us, and who was now begging me to let our enemies take our world because she thought we could not win. Ambassador, I said softly, thank you. Thank you for caring about us. Thank you for trying to save us, but you do not understand what you are asking me to do. I walked over to the big window. Earth was not visible from here. We were too far away, but I could see 1,000 other stars, each one a home to some form of life. 3 years ago, I said, still looking at the stars, my people joined the conquered. We were excited. We had dreamed of meeting aliens for thousands of years. We had written stories about you. We had imagined you as wise teachers, as distant friends, as being so much older and smarter than us. And when we finally met you, you were all of those things. You were kind. You were generous. You welcomed us into your community. I turned around. All the delegates were watching me now, but there was one thing you got wrong. One thing we never corrected because it did not seem polite. I paused. You thought we were the students. You thought we were the young species learning from the older ones. You thought Earth was a dangerous place where we had survived by luck. I smiled. Delegates, we did not survive Earth by luck. We conquered it. Every single dangerous thing on our planet, we either tamed it or we moved past it, or we learned to live with it on our own terms. There is no predator we fear. There is no disease we cannot study. There is no environment we cannot adapt to. We are not survivors of Earth. We are the reason Earth is the way it is. Velka stood up from her corner. Her old, wrinkled face looked somehow younger in the flashing red lights. Commander, she said, I have been waiting a long time to hear a human say these words. She turned to the other delegates. For 3 years I have read Earth's files. I have studied their history, and I have known what the commander is telling you now, but humans are a polite species. They do not boast, they do not threaten. So the galaxy has been allowed to think of them as small and weak and lucky. Today that ends. The Eslek delegate narrowed his eyes. And what makes you so sure, old archivist? What makes you believe these humans can stop 7 Krelvac warships when the combined fleets of 3 conquered members could not? Velka looked at him, then she looked at me. Because, delegate, the Krelvacs are warriors. They are strong. They are deadly. They have the best weapons, technology in our quadrant, but humans. She paused. Her voice grew quieter. Humans come from a world that tried to destroy them for 4 billion years, and they won. Everything else on that planet either serves them now or lives because humans allow it to live. What do you think a species like that does when an enemy attacks their home? The room was silent again. Outside the window, the stars shone coldly. On the map, the red dots kept moving closer to the blue dot, and in 6 hours the galaxy was going to find out exactly what Velka meant. My communicator buzzed one more time. It was President Whitaker of Earth. His voice was calm and steady, just like I had expected. Commander Turner, I have received your report. I have spoken with the Security Council. I have spoken with our military leaders, and I have made a decision. I stood up straighter. Yes, sir, the president's voice grew firm. Tell the conquered delegates what we are about to do. Tell them to watch. Tell them to record every second of it. And tell them that when this is over, we are going to have a very long conversation about what it means to be human. I nodded even though he could not see me. Yes, Mr. President. The call ended. I turned back to the delegates. All 12 of them were staring at me. Waiting, I took a deep breath. President of Earth has given his answer, I said, and his answer is this: in approximately 5 hours and 40 minutes, Warlord Zarthus and his 7 warships will arrive at our planet. They will demand our surrender. We will refuse. I paused. And then, delegates, I would like to invite you all to watch what happens next, because I think you are about to learn something about my species that will change how you see us forever. The Zelthari ambassador sat down slowly in her chair. Her 4 eyes were wide. Commander, she whispered, what are you going to do? I looked at her. I looked at all of them, and I gave them the only honest answer I had. Ambassador, we are going to do what our planet taught us to do. We are going to protect what is ours, and we are going to show the galaxy why Earth is a class 13 Deathworld. Outside the window, the stars kept shining. On the map, the red dots kept moving, and somewhere far away on a small blue planet, 9 billion humans were about to teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. Warlord Zarthus' fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel exactly on schedule. 7 massive black warships appeared in orbit around Earth, each one the size of a small city. Their plasma cannons glowed hot and ready. Their shields shimmered a dangerous purple color. From the command center on Kepler station far away across the sector, I watched the whole thing on the main screen. Behind me, every single conquered delegate was present. Word had spread across the station. Every species wanted to see what was about to happen. The room was packed with aliens of every shape and size, and every single one of them was silent. Commander, the Zelthari ambassador whispered, he is broadcasting to Earth. Now the screen split in two. On the left side, we could see Warlord Zarthus sitting on his throne on his flagship. On the right side, we could see President Whitaker sitting calmly behind his desk in the White House. The warlord spoke first. His clicking, buzzing voice filled the room. Human leader, I am Warlord Zarthus of the Krelvac hegemony. I have come to claim your world for my people. You have 1 hour to surrender. If you do not surrender, my ships will begin bombardment of your cities. If you do surrender, you will be allowed to live as servants of my empire. Choose wisely, small creature. Your entire species depends on your answer. President Whitaker did not answer right away. He just sat there looking at the warlord through the camera. His hands were folded on his desk. His face was calm. He looked like a man who was thinking about what to have for lunch, not a man whose world was about to be attacked. Finally, after almost a full minute of silence, he spoke. Warlord Zarthus, he said in his deep, steady voice, I have heard your demands, and I have a counteroffer for you. The warlord laughed his terrible clicking laugh. A counteroffer? You have no power to make offers, human. You have only the power to surrender or die. President Whitaker smiled. It was a Small, gentle smile, the kind of smile a grandfather might give to a grandchild who had said something foolish. Warlord, he said, my offer is this. Leave, turn your ships around right now. Go back to your empire and we will allow you to live. We will not chase you. We will not hunt you. We will simply let you go home and forget this ever happened. Around me in the command center, I heard the conquered delegates gasp. They could not believe what they were hearing. A small blue planet was offering mercy to a fleet that could destroy it. The warlord clearly could not believe it either. His clicking laughter exploded across the screen. His forearms waved in the air. His mandibles opened and closed so fast they blurred. Mercy you offer me. Mercy, little human, you do not understand your situation. I have 7 warships, 7. Each one carries enough firepower to turn your cities to dust. Each one carries thousands of my warriors. Each one is protected by shields that your primitive weapons cannot penetrate. You are not in a position to offer anything to me. You are in a position to beg, so beg. Little human, beg for your world. President Whitaker kept smiling. He looked at his watch, then he looked back at the warlord. Warlord Zarthus, he said softly, I'm not going to beg, and I am afraid I do not have time to argue with you. I gave you my offer. You refused it. That is the end of the conversation. The warlord stopped laughing. His cold eyes narrowed. What did you say, human? President Whitaker stood up from his desk. I said the conversation is over. I wish you had chosen differently. I truly do. But you did not, so now the conversation is over. Goodbye, warlord. Zarthus. The screen on the right side went dark. President Whitaker had ended the call. The warlord was left staring at a blank screen, his mandibles frozen in shock. Then he screamed. He actually screamed. A high clicking enraged sound that filled his whole command bridge. Destroy them, he shrieked at his officers. Fire everything, wipe them from existence, burn every city, kill every human, show them what it means to insult the Krelvax hegemony. His officers scrambled to obey. The 7 warships began to charge their plasma cannons. The shields around Earth's sparkle of defense ships looked so small, so thin, so fragile. Zalthari ambassador put her hands over her face. Oh, Commander, she whispered, I am so sorry. Your world, your beautiful world. I put my hand on her shoulder gently. Ambassador, I said, keep watching. She slowly lowered her hands, her 4 eyes open. She looked at the screen, and that was when the first strange thing happened. The Krelvax warships fired. 7 massive beams of purple plasma shot out of their cannons, aimed straight at major cities on Earth: New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, Mumbai, Sydney, Lagos. Each beam was powerful enough to destroy a small mountain. They should have hit their targets in less than a second. But they did not hit. The beams were still moving through space when something strange happened. The plasma beams began to bend. They curved, they twisted, they spun around each other. The dark, and then one by one they vanished, just disappeared like they had never been fired at all. On the screen I could see the warlord leaning forward on his throne. His mandibles were hanging open. What just happened? Officer, report. One of his officers was shaking as he looked at his instruments. Warlord, our plasma beams, they were caught by some kind of field, a field we have never seen before. It did not block them, it absorbed them, and then Then it moved the energy away. Warlord's eyes grew huge. What do you mean it moved the energy away? Another officer spoke up. This one was trembling so hard he could barely stand. Warlord, the energy from our plasma beams is now powering something else, some kind of device on the far side of the planet. Device we did not see before. It is very large, it is very strange, and it is charging. The warlord slammed his four fists on his throne. Destroy it. Fire again. Target this device and destroy it now. The officers rushed to obey. The 7 warships fired again. 7 more beams of plasma shot out into space. And again the beams bent. They curved. They vanished on the far side of Earth. The strange device grew brighter. In the command center on Kepler Station, the conquered delegates had all stood up from their seats. They were crowded around the main screen, their alien eyes wide. With shock, the Eslick delegate turned to me. Commander Turner, what is that device? What are your people doing? How are they doing this? I smiled, but I did not answer. I just kept watching. On Earth, the strange device finished charging. It was a structure we had been building in secret for the last 2 years, hidden deep inside a mountain range in Antarctica. We had not told the conquered about it. We had not put it in any of our reports because we knew someday a moment like this would come. Moment when the galaxy needed to learn who we really were, and we wanted to be ready. The device was not a weapon. Exactly, it was a field generator. A field generator that could catch energy, store it, and then redirect it with perfect precision. The Krelvax had just given us an enormous amount of free energy by firing at us, and now we were going to give it back. On the screen, the device glowed bright white. Then suddenly 14 beams of light shot out from Earth, not purple plasma like the Krelvax had used. These beams were gold and silver and blue. They moved faster than the Krelvax sensors could track. They split and twisted and curved through space. And then each beam found its target with perfect accuracy. 2 beams per ship, 1 for the engines, 1 for the shield generator. No deaths. No destroyed ships, just disabled. All 7 warships suddenly went dark. Their engines died, their shields collapsed, their weapons powered down. In the span of 2 seconds, the most powerful fleet in our part of the galaxy became 7 giant useless hulks, floating helplessly in space. The command center on Kepler Station erupted in gasps and shouts. The conquered delegates were pointing at the screen, talking over each other in 20 different languages. The Zalthari ambassador was crying, but this time she was crying with joy. Veilka, sitting in her corner, was smiling a small knowing smile. The Eslick delegate turned to me again. His huge reptilian face was full of wonder. Commander, he said, what just happened? Tell us, please. I took a deep breath. Delegate, I said, my people took the Krelvax fleet offline without hurting a single member of their crew. Those ships are now drifting in space with no power. Their life support is still running, thanks to emergency backup systems, but their engines are gone, their weapons are gone. They cannot fight, they cannot run, they are completely helpless. The delegate stared at me. The Zalthari ambassador wiped her 4 eyes. Commander, that was beautiful. You could have destroyed them, but you did not. You only disabled them. I nodded. Yes, Ambassador, my president gave them a chance to leave. They refused, so we took away their ability to hurt us. But we did not take away their lives. That is not who we are. The Eslick delegate leaned closer. And now, Commander, what happens now? I pointed at the screen. On the main flagship, Warlord Zarthus was shouting at his crew. His officers were running around in panic. He was still demanding that they fire their weapons. But the weapons would not fire. The ships would not move. Every system was offline. Now, delegate, I said, we go and talk to the warlord. We tell him he has a choice. He can surrender peacefully and his crew will be returned safely to his empire, or he can refuse to surrender, and his ships will simply be towed to the edge of our star system and left to drift until his empire sends rescue teams. The Zalthari ambassador tilted her head. And if he refuses your terms, Commander, if he tries to fight your boarding teams, I smiled. Ambassador, the warlord is about to learn something that the galaxy has not yet understood. When a human comes to your ship to rescue you, you do not fight them, you thank them, because snorts the alternative is so much worse. On the screen we could see small ships launching from Earth. Dozens of them, human rescue ships. They flew up toward the disabled Krelvax fleet like a swarm of silver fish. They moved quickly. They moved in perfect formation, and each ship was carrying a team of humans who were about to walk onto an enemy warship, unarmored, carrying only basic tools, and somehow they were going to bring everyone home alive. Velka stood up and walked over to stand next to me. Her old wrinkled face was turned up toward the screen. Commander Turner, she said softly, I have waited a long time for this day. The day the galaxy learns what we have known for centuries. She smiled. The day the aliens learn why Earth is feared. As a Class 13 Deathworld, I put my hand on her shoulder. Her skin was cool and smooth. Around us the conquered delegates were still watching the screen in silent amazement. The Krelvax fleet was drifting helplessly. The human rescue ships were approaching, and on his flagship Warlord Zarthus was sitting on his throne staring out his viewport, trying to understand how everything had gone so wrong so fast. But this was only the beginning, because what the delegates and the warlord did not yet know was that the real surprise was not our technology. Our technology was impressive, yes, but it was not the scary part. The scary part was the people who built it. The scary part was what was coming next. The rescue ships reached the Krelvax flagship first. I watched on the main screen as the small silver vessels attached themselves to the giant black warship like remora fish on a whale. The conquered delegates were crowded around me, pushing and shoving gently to get a better view. None of them had seen humans in action before. None of them knew what we did when we went to work. And I have to admit, even for me, what happened next was something special. It was something I would remember for the rest of my life. The first human rescue team to board the flagship was led by a young officer named Captain Lily Bennett. I had worked with her before. She was 29 years old, 5'ft" and 4 and tall, with bright red hair and a smile that could light up a dark room. She did not look scary. She looked like someone's friendly younger sister. But Captain Bennett was one of the best officers in the Earth Defense Force. She had trained her entire adult life for moments just like this one. And she was walking onto a warship full of enemy soldiers who had just minutes ago been trying to destroy her planet. She was not wearing power armor, she was not carrying heavy weapons, she had a standard issue uniform, a small sidearm on her hip and a medical kit over her shoulder. Because humans do not bring soldiers to a rescue. We bring medics. The Krelvex warriors on the flagship were waiting for her, hundreds of them. All 8FT. All armored in black chitin, all armed with blades and plasma rifles that were, sadly for them, no longer working thanks to our field generator, but they still had their claws, they still had their teeth, they still had their fists, and they had numbers on their side as Captain Bennett stepped through the airlock with her team of 15 humans. The Krelvex warriors charged, the conquered delegates gasped in horror. The Zelthari ambassador cried out and turned her face away. The Eslik delegate squeezed his huge hands into fists. Oh no, someone whispered. Oh no, oh no, oh no. But I just watched because I knew what was about to happen. And what happened next was over in less than 30 seconds. Captain Bennett did not panic, she did not run, she did not even draw her sidearm, she just moved, smooth, calm, efficient, like water flowing around rocks. She ducked under a massive claw swipe, she stepped past a charging warrior, she grabbed the wrist of another attacker and used his own weight against him, sending him tumbling into two of his friends. Behind her, her team was doing the same thing, 15 humans moving like dancers, moving like shadows, moving like they had done this 1,000 times before, which in training exercises they probably had. The Krelvex warriors could not land a single hit, every strike missed, every lunge caught only empty air, every grab closed on nothing. The humans kept moving, kept flowing, kept slipping past the armored giants like they were standing still, and one by one the Krelvex warriors ended up on the floor. Not hurt, not broken, just placed there gently. The humans were not attacking. They were avoiding, they were redirecting. They were making the Krelvex throw themselves off balance and fall over their own feet. It was honestly a little funny to watch. The huge armored warriors kept falling down again and again until most of them just gave up and sat on the floor panting and confused. The Zelthari ambassador slowly turned her face back toward the screen. Her 4 eyes were wide. Commander Turner, she whispered. How did she do that? She is so small, they are so large, they should have broken her in half. How did she avoid them all? I smiled. Ambassador, that is what we call martial arts. It is a set of fighting skills developed on Earth over thousands of years. Captain Bennett has been studying it since she was 5 years old. She knows how to move her body in ways that most alien species never even think about, and she knows how to use her enemy's strength against them, so she never has to rely on her own. Velka, still standing next to me, nodded wisely. The gentleness of humans is not weakness, Ambassador, it is discipline. It is skill. They could have hurt these warriors badly. They chose not to. On the screen, Captain Bennett walked calmly through the crowd of sitting, confused Krelvex warriors. She reached the door to the main bridge. She opened it, and there on his throne was Warlord Zarthus. He stood up as she entered. He was 3 times her size. His 4 arms were raised. His mandibles were open wide in a terrifying battle display. But Captain Bennett did not flinch. She just walked up to him, looked up at his massive face and smiled. Hello, Warlord, she said in her cheerful voice. Name is Captain Lily Bennett. I'm here to rescue you and your crew. The warlord stared down at her. He did not move. He could not seem to believe what he was seeing. Rescue me, he said. Slowly, rescue me, little creature. I came here to destroy your world. Captain Bennett nodded. Yes, you did. And we are very sorry about that, but you failed. Now you are floating in space with no engines and no weapons. You are going to run out of food and water in about 3 weeks. Your crew is scared. Some of them are hurt from when the ship lost power and some equipment fell over. We are here to fix everything. Will you let us help you? The warlord's forearms slowly lowered. His mandibles slowly closed. He looked at Captain Bennett with confusion in his cold eyes. You are not here to make me a prisoner, Captain Bennett laughed. Light, easy laugh. Oh no, Warlord, we do not take prisoners. We are going to repair your engines, give your crew some medical care, load up your ships with food and water for the journey, and send you home. That is what Earth would like to offer you today. The warlord sat down slowly on his throne. For the first time since I had seen him on the screen, he looked small, not physically. He was still a giant, but something inside him looked small, confused, humble. Why? He whispered. Why would you do this? I attacked your world. I tried to kill your people. Why are you not hurting me? Captain Bennett sat down on the edge of his throne platform. She looked up at him with kind eyes. Warlord Zarthus, she said, my people come from a very dangerous world. You probably do not know this, but Earth is one of the most difficult planets in the whole galaxy to live on. Everything there wants to kill everything else. Our oceans are full of creatures that can eat a human whole. Our forests are full of predators and poisonous things. Our weather can destroy entire cities. Our diseases used to wipe out half our population in a single year. The warlord listened silently. But we learned, Warlord, we learned how to live on that world. We learned how to work together. We learned how to protect the things we love. And along the way we learned something very important. We learned that when you live on a world that is always trying to hurt you, you eventually get tired of hurting things. You learn that life is precious, all life, even the life of an enemy. The Zelthari ambassador, watching from the command center, began to cry softly. The Eslic delegate bowed his huge head. Velka squeezed my hand, and Captain Bennett on the screen kept talking in her gentle, warm voice. So here is what is going to happen, Warlord. My team is going to fix your ships. We are going to help your crew. We are going to pack your storage with food and supplies. And then we are going to let you go home. You do not have to promise us anything. You do not have to apologize. You can go home and tell your people whatever story you want to tell, but I hope someday you will tell them the truth, that Earth did not destroy you, even when it could have, because that is who we are. The warlord put his 4 hands on his face. His huge shoulders began to shake. It took me a moment to realize what was happening. He was crying. Warlord Zarthus, conqueror of 8-star systems, the most feared military leader in his empire, was sitting on his throne, crying. Captain Bennett reached up and patted his knee. It was the only part of him she could reach. It is okay, Warlord, she whispered. It is okay. Let us take you home. On the screens of the command center, every single conquered delegate was Silent, some were crying. Some were holding their heads in their hands. Some were simply staring with wide eyes, trying to understand what they had just seen. The Zelthari ambassador turned to me. Her voice was soft and full of wonder. "Commander Turner," she said, "I have spent my entire life as a diplomat. I have negotiated peace treaties between species. I have ended small wars. I have seen acts of bravery and acts of kindness, but I have never in all my 230 years of life seen anything like this. Your people, they are not what any of us thought they were." I smiled softly. "Ambassador, what did you think we were?" She thought for a long moment. "I thought you were a young species. Strong, yes. Smart, yes, but young. Simple. I thought you needed our guidance." She paused, her 4 eyes shone with tears. "I was wrong. Commanders, you are not young. You are not simple. You are something I do not yet have a word for. Your world shaped you into something that the galaxy has never seen before." The Eslic delegate walked over to join us. His huge reptilian form moved slowly, respectfully. "Commander Turner," he said in his deep, rumbling voice, "for many years the Krelvex have been our nightmare. We have lost ships to them. We have lost colonies to them. We have built fleets and fortresses to keep them away. And today one human captain walked onto their flagship alone and made their warlord cry with kindness." He shook his massive head. "I do not understand it, but I will never forget it." More delegates joined us. The Drosi representative, a being made of flowing crystal. The Macquarie ambassador, who looked like a floating jellyfish. Thornwood delegate, who was shaped like a small tree. All of them crowded around me, asking questions, sharing their shock, trying to understand. And through all of it, Velka stood by my side, smiling her knowing smile. Finally, after the delegates had asked their 100th question, she raised her webbed hand for silence. The room quieted down. "My friends," she said, "I have something to show you." She walked over to the main console and pulled up a file on the big screen. It was the same file she had shown me 3 years ago in that dusty back room. Earth's classification, Class 13, Deathworld. Reserved designation. Do not approach without sanctioned escort. The delegates read the words. They had all read them before. Of course, Earth's file was available to every member of the Conquered, but they had never really understood it. For 3 years, Velka said, our archives have described Earth as a Class 13 death world. Most of you assumed this meant Earth was dangerous because of its animals or its weather or its diseases. And those things are dangerous, yes, but that is not why we created this classification. She turned to look at all of us. We created Class 13, my friends, because of the humans themselves. Because we saw a species that had evolved in the worst possible conditions, and instead of being destroyed by those conditions, they had become something wonderful, something patient, something wise, something that could meet an enemy fleet with mercy instead of anger. That is the true meaning of Class 13. It is not a warning about the planet. It is a description of what kind of species comes from a planet like that. The Zelfari ambassador walked up to the screen and placed her four-fingered hand gently against the words. She was crying. Again, not from fear this time, from something else, something deeper. Commander Turner, she said softly, on behalf of the Zelfari people, I would like to thank your species. thank you. For joining our conquered, thank you for showing us something we did not know we were missing, thank you for being who you are. One by one, the other delegates came forward and said similar things. The Eslek, the Drossi, the Makari, the Thornwood, every single one of them thanked me, thanked humanity, welcomed us, truly welcomed us into the galaxy. For the first time, and on the screen far above Earth, Captain Lily Bennett was still sitting on the edge of Warlord Zarthus' throne, patting his knee and promising him again and again that everything was going to be okay, that he was going to go home, that his crew was safe, that the humans were his friends now, whether he wanted them to be or not, and that, my friends, was the moment everything changed. 3 months passed, 3 months since Warlord Zarthus' fleet had drifted helplessly over Earth, 3 months since Captain Lily Bennett had sat on a throne and comforted a crying warlord. 3 months since the galaxy had learned what Class 13 really meant. I was back on Kepler Station, sitting in my office, reading through a stack of new reports. Every single report told the same kind of story, and every single story made me smile. The Krelvax hegemony had sent a formal apology to Earth. They had returned all the star systems they had conquered to their original owners. Warlord Zarthus himself had resigned from military service and become an ambassador of peace, traveling between worlds and telling the story of the day the humans rescued him. Everywhere he went, other species listened, and slowly, one by one, the feared empires of our part of the galaxy began to change, not because humans had forced them to change, but because humans had shown them another way. The Zelfari had signed a full military alliance with Earth. The Eslek had asked to send their children to human schools so they could learn what we called kindness under pressure. The Drossi had built a statue of Captain Bennett on their capital world, made of flowing crystal that caught the light in beautiful patterns. The Makari had composed songs about us. The Thornwood had planted forests in our honor, using seeds from every tree on Earth that we had sent them as gifts. And the galaxy, which 3 months ago had seen us as a curious young species in need of guidance, now saw us as something else entirely. They saw us as teachers. They saw us as friends. They saw us as the people you call when you do not know what to do. And I was very busy now because my new job as director of the Xenobiological exchange program was taking up all my time. I had dozens of requests every day from other species who wanted to learn from us. They wanted human instructors. They wanted human doctors. They wanted human engineers and teachers and diplomats. And we were happy to help, because that is what Earth taught us to do, to help, to heal, to build up, not tear down. A soft knock sounded at my door. I looked up. It was Velka. Her old, wrinkled face was smiling at me. I stood up and welcomed her in. Velka, I said, please sit down. It has been too long. She settled into a chair across from my desk, her webbed hands folded neatly her lap. Commander Turner, she said, I am sorry to interrupt your work, but I have some news. I thought you should hear it from me first. I leaned forward. What is it? Velka's smile grew wider. The Galactic Concord has voted, by unanimous vote, which is the first time in our 8,000-year history that all member species have agreed on anything. They have voted to change Earth's classification. I tilted my head, Really, what is our new classification? Velka pulled out her data pad and handed it to me. I read the words on the screen and I laughed. I laughed so hard that tears came to my eyes because the Conquered had not just changed Earth's classification, they had created a brand new one. The screen read, in simple Conquered standard language, Planet Earth, Class 13 Deathworld. Caution: this world produces the most dangerous species in the known galaxy. However, that species is also the most compassionate and gentle species in the known galaxy. If you encounter a human, do not be afraid. They will help you. They will heal you. They will defend you. Do not attack this world. Do not harm these people. But if you are lost or hurt or afraid, you are welcome here. Earth is the safest place in the galaxy, as long as you come in peace. I handed the data pad back to Velka. My eyes were still wet. My heart was full. Velka, I said softly, that is the most beautiful thing I have ever read. She nodded. It is true, Commander. Every word of it. Your people have shown us who they really are, and we have written it into our records for all time. 1,000 years from now, when other species read about Earth, they will know the truth. They will know what humans are, and they will know that Class 13 is not a warning to stay away. It is an invitation to come home. I stood up and walked to the window. Earth was not visible from here. We were still too far away, but I could see 1,000 stars shining in the deep black of space, each one a home to some form of life. 3 years ago, I had stood in this same office looking at these same stars, and I had felt small. I had felt like humans were new to the galaxy, like we were visitors in someone else's house, like we had to be quiet and careful and not make any trouble. But now, looking out that same window, I did not feel small anymore. I did not feel like a visitor. I felt like I belonged, because we did belong. We had earned our place in the galaxy, not by force, not by technology, not by clever speeches or fancy diplomacy, but by being who we truly were: gentle, strong, patient, fierce when we had to be, kind when we could be, and always, always, always standing up for those who could not stand up for themselves. Velka came to stand next to me by the window. We looked at the stars together for a long time. Finally she spoke. Commander Turner, may I ask you something? I nodded. Of course, Velka. You can ask me anything. She took a deep breath. Are humans afraid of anything? I have watched your species for 3 years now. I have seen you face enemies that would make my people run and hide. I have seen you walk into dangerous places without fear. I have seen you laugh at things that would make other species cry. So tell me truly, is there anything that humans are afraid of? I thought about her question for a long time. I thought about my own fears, about the fears of my friends and family, about the fears that had driven my species from caves to cities to stars, and finally I gave her my honest answer. Velka, there is one thing we are afraid of, one thing that keeps us moving forward, one thing that made us come out into the galaxy in the first place. She turned to look at me. What is it, Commander? I smiled at her. We are afraid of being alone. Out of all the dangers on our planet, the biggest one was always this, that we would be the only ones, that we would look up at the stars and see no one looking back, that we would be alone in a vast empty universe. Velka's four eyes filled with tears. Oh, Commander, she whispered. Oh, my dear friend. I put my hand on her shoulder, but then we came out here, Velka, and we found all of you, the Zelfari and the Eslek, and the Drossi and the Makari and the Thornwood and all the others. And suddenly, we were not alone anymore. And that is the greatest gift your galaxy has given us. Velka took my hand in her webbed fingers. She squeezed it gently. Commander Turner, listen to me. After everything the galaxy has seen, after everything you have shown us, let me promise you something on behalf of every species in the Conquered, on behalf of every world that has ever feared the dark. You will never be alone again, not ever. Every species in this galaxy wants to be your friend now, because the alternative is unthinkable, and because, Commander, you deserve friends, all of you. Every single human on that small blue planet deserves to know that they have neighbors who love them. I squeezed her hand back. I could not speak for a moment. My throat was too tight. Finally, I managed to whisper, "Thank you, Velka. Thank you for seeing us. Thank you for being our friend." We stood there for a long time, just holding hands, looking at the stars. Eventually, my communicator buzzed. I did not answer it right away because I was having the best moment of my career, and I did not want it to end. But after a minute, I lifted my wrist and looked at the screen. It was President Whitaker. I touched the button to answer. "Mr. President, this is Turner." His warm voice came through the speaker. "Commander, I have someone here who would like to speak with you. He has traveled a long way to find you." The video screen flickered on, and there, standing in the president's office, was Warlord Zarthus, but he did not look like a warlord anymore. He was not wearing his black chitin armor. He was wearing simple brown robes, the kind that Krelvik's diplomats wore. His 4 arms were folded peacefully in front of him. His mandibles were closed and calm. His cold eyes were warmer now. And when he saw me through the screen, he bowed deeply, respectfully. "Commander Turner," he said in his clicking voice, "it is good to see you again." I bowed back. "Warlord Zarthus, or I should say Ambassador Zarthus, it is good to see you too." He smiled as much as his mandibles allowed. "I have traveled to Earth to thank your president in person and your captain, Bennett, but I also wanted to thank you, Commander. You were the first human I ever truly spoke to. You warned me in your own way before I made my foolish decision. You told me your people were waiting. You told me you were happy I had come. I did not understand then. I thought you were being cruel, but you were telling me the truth. You were telling me that my defeat was going to be a gift, and it was, Commander. It was the greatest gift of my life." I felt tears in my eyes again. "Ambassador, I am glad to hear you say that. I'm glad you came to see us, and I'm glad we could help you see the world in a new way." Zarthus nodded slowly. "Commander, I have one more thing to say. In my empire we have an old saying. We say the gentlest creature in the universe is the one that has nothing left to prove. For many years I thought this saying was foolish. I thought strength meant showing your strength to others. I thought fear was the only way to keep peace." He paused. "But then I met your people, and I learned what the saying really meant. Humans have nothing left to prove. You have already faced everything. Your own planet trained you to face everything. And now when you meet us, you do not need to fight us. You do not need to scare us. You can afford to be gentle because you know Deep in your hearts that you are strong, enough to protect what matters to you. I nodded. I could not speak. My throat was too full. Zarthus bowed again. Thank you, Commander Turner. Thank you for existing. Thank you for being my teacher. I will see you soon, my friend. The screen went dark. I turned to Velka. She was smiling. She had heard every word. She squeezed my hand one last time. Commander, she whispered, look at what your people have done. Look at who you are. I looked out the window again at the stars, at the galaxy that had once seemed so cold and so far away. The galaxy was not cold anymore. It was warm. It was full of friends. It was full of people who had been waiting for us, not knowing they had been waiting. And we had been waiting for them, too, not knowing what we had been waiting for until the day came, the day the aliens learned why Earth is feared as a Class 13 death world, not because of our jungles, not because of our oceans, not because of our storms or our predators or our diseases, but because of what evolved at the top of our food chain. Creatures who had faced every horror our planet could produce and had come out the other side not angry, not scarred, not broken but kind but gentle but brave but generous. Humans, just humans, the scariest thing in the galaxy, because we had already faced the scariest things at home, and the gentlest thing in the galaxy because we had learned through millions of years of struggle that gentleness is the greatest strength of all. I stood at the window for a long time. That night Velka stood with me. Neither of us spoke. We did not need to, because the galaxy was singing a new song now. Song of welcome, a song of friendship, song of hope. And in that song, for the first time in the history of our species, humans were not alone. We had come out of our death world. We had met our neighbors. We had made them our family, and we were home. Truly home at last. The end.